Hello, and this is the Omoda 9. It's not every day that I get to drive a car with a brand that I'm unfamiliar with, and maybe you are as well. If anybody curious, Omoda is a Chinese brand, it's a division of Chery, and this is a premium two-row plug-in hybrid SUV. I'm Thomas and you're watching Cars of Glasgow, and in this video I'm going to give you a walk-around tour of the car, show you what it's like in the interior, it's rather nice, and then get out on the road for a test drive, so stay tuned for this video. So let's start off with the front end. We do have this horizontal light bar as well as a vertical light bar. They do a little dance when you lock and unlock the car. It's quite a unique little feature. And then at night it's got a very unique kind of daytime running light signature. I think it looks quite handsome as well. We do have Omoda spelled out across the middle of the grille here. And then we do have this rhombus shape. That seems to be the theme for the Omoda 9 at least. And then down below we've got some anthracite grey, as well as your radar cruise control and your camera there for your front parking camera, which we'll touch on when we get in the interior. Overall, the front end design is handsome, if a little bit subtle and subdued, but it's definitely not offensive. I quite like the look of it. You can let me know in the comments what you think of the front end design. So let's have a look what's under the bonnet. So I've unlatched it there. We do have gas struts, which is nice to see, a kind of a premium feature. Some insulation underneath there. And powering this car is a 1.5 litre 4-cylinder petrol, coupled with some electric motors, and it uses a 34.5 kilowatt hour battery. That means the car is good for about 93 miles of EV, electric only driving range. And then with the petrol engine, you're going to be 600 miles with that, so almost about 700 miles combined. 0 to 60 for this car is about 4.9 seconds claimed. That's because the total output of this car is around 443 brake horsepower and just over 760 newton meters of torque, which is pretty impressive for a car of this kind of class and calibre, just like maybe your family luxury hauler, and it's going to be smoking most cars like Golf GTIs and that at the lights. So that is what underneath here looks like. I said I'm pretty impressed with usually cars with a bit of sound deadening and gas struts. Don't always expect that at this kind of price point. And then we do have your windscreen washer on the left hand side there if you're looking to top up your fluids. Now the powertrain in this car, you do get a 7-year 100,000 mile warranty. The battery gets an 8-year warranty, which is separate, so anybody looking at buying one of these in the UK, you do have that peace of mind with the warranty. Now let's check out the side of the car. So all UK models of the Omoda 9 are all-wheel drive. They all come in this plug-in hybrid or super hybrid system, is the terminology, SHS. And they all come in this high-spec Noble trim as well, which means you all get these 20-inch diamond-cut alloy wheels riding on the Michelin E-Primacy tyres. That's the only option you can get for the wheels in this car. Really only have to choose your paint. So you're looking at about 4.77 metres in length, about 1.92 metres in width, and then 1.67 metres in height of the car. The roof line does get a little bit shorter and rakish as you get to the rear. We do have silver roof rails, flush door handles, which do go in, and you can see with the car it does have easy access, so when you get up to the car the doors just do pop out, which obviously does not do it on camera, but if I step away and walk up to the car like so. And what I do like is the fact is the door extends beyond the sill, which means when you get in and out the car you're not going to get the back of your legs dirty, which is nice when the weather's like this here in Scotland. We do have your full filler flap on this side, so the driver's side is where you put your petrol in, and then the passenger side is the EV charging port, which we'll touch on when we get to that side of the car. Let's check out the back of the car. So you join me at the rear of the Omoda 9. Now the first thing I want to point out is we've got a little spoiler with the brake light up here. It's kind of a unique design with kind of two little streaks in there. It reminds me of something like a Formula 1 car or something. Your rear wiper, which is kind of visible, but then we do have this tail light going full length of the car. It starts off thin and gets a little bit larger. This kind of bit reminds me of a Porsche Cayenne, as do the quad tailpipes in this car, kind of hinting towards the performance of this vehicle. They are a little bit fake, or completely fake, because they're not connected to the exhaust, so that just shows you the designers had a little bit of fun designing this vehicle. They are a talking point. I have showed a few people this car over the past week, and people have came and asked about it because it is a talking point, because it does look performance and ready. We do have the rhombus like we've seen in the front grille down in this grey bit of plastic, and it emerges from being kind of embossed to smooth. Don't know if it's from a manufacturing detail. I think that's quite a unique feature. We do have your parking sensors, rear camera under the O, and of course an electronic tailgate that can be opened by the boot button or on your key fob, and that gives you about 600 litres of boot space. It is all carpeted, and we do have 60/40 folding, as well as a big parcel shelf, a little bit of storage underneath, which is ideal for storing your 3-pin garage socket, which I did use at home, and then we've got the electronic tailgate to close it. Overall, it's carpeted, a decent place for shopping, suitcases, did an airport run, things like that. But also worth mentioning, with the all-wheel drive and FEV badging back here, and these reflector pieces down here. Overall, I think it looks quite handsome. It looks its own thing on the most part, and yeah, I think they've done a good job on the rear end of the car. So on the left hand side of the car, we do have your charging flap, which you can pop open. It does have AC and DC charging, which means you can plug it in at home as well as a rapid charger. It does charge at up to 70 kilowatts, which means you get 10 to 80% charge in around 25 minutes. And not all FEVs can use the rapid chargers, this one can, so that's worth mentioning as well. And that's good for about 93 miles of claimed EV range and about 38 grams per kilometre of CO2 for people who are buying this with company cars in mind. Now let's check out the interior. Alright, so you join me in the back of the Omoda 9. Now the first thing you want to take away is the space in this car. I'm 5'11", plenty of knee room, oodles of headroom because it's very boxy and square back here, and I've got just enough headroom back here to get comfortable. We do have electric seats. All 4 seats have some sort of electric adjustment, so you can pull that forward and back, so you can recline that on a longer trip, which is nice to see. We've got the Sony sound speakers as well as up front, and we've got them in the back. All nice materials. It's kind of got this leather material all over the centre here. We do have 2 mat pockets. This seat is in an awkward position because I was playing around with it earlier on, but you can move that all the way forward if you want for more maximum leg room, for rear passengers, almost chauffeur style. The 2 outermost seats do have heating, which are 3 stage, and everything has a nice tactile weighted feel to it for your air con to the heated seats back here. We even have a little bit of charging ports down here, USB A and C behind this little flap. It's not often you see the charge ports hidden, but they are down there below. So the mat pockets got foamy stuff in there. The AC vents as well, we've got on the B pillars of the car, little hooks. And if I sit in the middle, because we've got a flat floor, which I do need to commend engineers for, because you don't always get that in a full EV, never mind a hybrid car. Usually got a transmission tunnel or something. I'm able to put my feet back here, so I can sit like free abreast and it's not too much of a hassle. However, if you do want to carry yourself and your passengers in more comfort, probably have 2. We do have the ISOFIX points in the outer seats and an armrest with 2 cup holders. But overall back here, it's a pretty nice place to be. Nice, subtle, comfortable seats, black leather everywhere, some nice stitching, chrome, black gloss plastic. Yeah, it's a nice place to be and I can't really complain too much. Now we've got the panoramic roof, which I'll touch on when we get to the front. That extends just past my head, so it really lifts the light. We do have a panoramic roof, which I'll touch on when we get to the front of the car. That lifts the kind of greenhouse and airiness to the cabin. Now there are 2 ways to get out the car. We do have a big mechanical lever or this electronic button you can push and it pops the door open, so you do get your choice. And you can probably see, hopefully in the video, a strip of ambient lighting in the back. It's flashing red at the moment because the car thinks that we're in danger because we've got the door open, but yeah, you have customization on the ambient lighting up front. So you join me in the front cabin of the Omoda 9, and everything in the car imprints luxury, premium, easy to live with, convenience. Start off with the big panoramic roof, which is full length. It goes over the 2 rows. It is electronic and it does tilt and open. If you can appreciate, today it is raining and we've had a yellow warning storm the entire time I've had this car, so I'm not opening it up, but it does tilt at least, which is nice to ventilate, I guess, if you want to, but I'm not going to be using that in winter. What I'm going to be using are things like your heated seats, heated steering wheel. They are also ventilated, and they're up front. They've got this kind of quilting pattern, a little bit more aggressive quilting than they do have in the rear, and it all feels like soft and plush. The passenger's treated to butterfly headrests, whereas mine, you're going to notice in the driver, is like perforated leather, and that's because there's a little speaker in there. So when you're using your sat nav or you're on a phone call, the audio comes through the speaker there. The driver here can adjust the passenger seat forward again to let rear passengers, if you're going to use this as a chauffeur or something like that, pick up people, you can move this seat out the way. The quality in this cabin, at least perceived quality, feels well built and solid. Nothing's like rattling around or squeaking. Yeah, I think it feels well built, and I'm rather impressed with the materials they've used in this car. Everything's kind of trimmed in this kind of soft vinyl touch leather on top. Top of the dash is squidgy enough, and it probably feels on par with something like a Toyota or something like that. And above the door, even better than some other German manufacturers, just the top of that, again considering the price point of this vehicle. I do like the fact we have memory seating as well as physical seat buttons which are visible. Again, touching on with 6-way memory seats on the front. Driver, passenger gets 4-way seats, it goes forward and back. Unfortunately, it doesn't go up and down in the passenger. So I've had a couple of passengers over 6 foot, they mentioned that, and I would probably, if you test drive one of these, if you're carrying somebody frequently that's over 6 foot, make sure they sit in the passenger seat of this car before buying. But out with that, there's quite a few bits of adjustment here. I always feel like I'm sitting on the car than in it. It does adjust up and down, but I'm 5'11". It doesn't feel like you sit just enough low enough for me to get comfortable into the car, but it does a decent job. We do have reach and rake, which is electronic as well. It goes up and down. And then we do have two 12.3 inch screens here. The centre one here is a touchscreen with Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. Pretty much everything's controlled through that screen, from your climate, your heated seats, to the turning the driver warning systems off, whatever it may be, is all through there. We do have these hard key buttons down below for driving modes as well as your temperature and fan speeds. And then you've got AC and an auto button as well. Wireless phone charging on the left hand side, and then the right hand side one is just a phone holder area. We do have a big centre console here with a little cover over it. 2 cup holders. I have noticed this little piece pulls out, so I am not sure, I couldn't see anything on the website, if this is just a design feature for where it's been manufactured, or you can buy separate like compartments to put in there. Because I know like things like Porsche and Audi, you can buy little bits and it can be a cup holder or a storage unit. Maybe that's what goes on here. There's a little flap in there, allows you to put your key and other bits underneath there, under the felt. Push this button here. We've got a cool box in here. You can turn that on and off, of course, but it's round with rubber. If you want to put drinks in there and your AC's running, keep cans of juice a little bit cool. It would not be a CarsofGlasgow video without a glove box reveal. We have a softly damped, lined with fuzzy stuff and no fuse box in the way, so to me that's a 10 out of 10 pass. That is everything I look for in a glove box, and it's been a while since I've had that feature, so well done to Omoda for supplying that. Underneath we do have a little bit of storage under here. It is worth noting the passenger gets a USB-A and USB-C port, whereas the driver gets a 12-volt power outlet. I just wanted to mention that down below. And speaking of storage, we do have door bins. They are separated, so we do have a bit for juice and maybe like bottles and things like that, as well as other pieces that is separated into 3 little compartments up front, which is decent, again, for separating that out. Now, to start the car up, you've got your key. It can be in your pocket, it can be anywhere you want, really, it's keyless. But there's no start-stop button, so you just put your seatbelt on, foot in the brake, and the car's on. It comes to life. There's no big learning curve on it, which is quite cool. As I said, it took me a moment to get used to, but this car really does imprint convenience and usability. They've got a nice clear heads-up display. We do have your indicator stalk with your wipers here on the left-hand side, and then the right-hand side is where your drive selector is. So we've got all the way up for reverse. We've got a pretty cool camera that pops up 540 degrees is what Omoda call it, which is the panoramic view, so it's 360 plus kind of like the bird's eye view, and then all the way down for drive, and then P for park. Now when you're driving along the road at low speeds, you can indicate and it pops up, and I found it really useful. Go very quickly. I got used to that system, so I think that's a really kind of novel feature, and even indicates when you indicate left or right, it mimics what you're seeing on the kind of transparent Omoda 9 outlay kind of model we have on the graphic there. Now this car is sitting at about 13% battery, 13 miles at 21% battery and 284 miles of petrol at the moment. When you are driving on the road, it gets to a certain point around 20% and it just acts as a hybrid. But when you have more charge on it, you are able to go into the system and switch between EV mode and hybrid electric mode, depending on what you want it to use. And the aforementioned drive modes here.
Normal mode.
And there is a kind of robot lady that speaks to you to let you know what mode you're in. So we've got eco, normal, sport, and then snow, off-road and sand as well, if you wanted to take this car, I guess, into a different mode. But it doesn't raise the suspension. We do have adaptive suspension, so it does work for being more comfortable on the road, but yeah, realistically you're going to keep this in eco, normal and comfort while driving. One last thing I want to touch on is the ambient lighting. There's a lot of ways you can customise that, but it does have customization on the ambient lighting. You can have it static, you can have it two-tone, you can have it like pulsating, as I do in this current video. But yeah, everything in the car is pretty customisable to the driver's needs. Left hand side of the steering wheel, we do have adaptive cruise control, a shortcut key which I have set up for the heated steering wheel button. Right hand side we do have your volume control and a little button here that controls the screen in front of the driver. So right now it's saying I'm averaging 44.8 miles to gallon, petrol combined 5.7 miles per kilowatt hour for electric, and it's saying 97.4 mpg. You can touch that button and it's going to give you cycling through, trip reset, your tyres, and then your map. If you hold and press the circle button, it expands the map to the full size of that 12.3 inch screen there for the driver. One last thing I want to touch on is the Sony sound system. It does sound quite good. I have turned it up a good few times. With shortcut keys on the steering wheel, it's here, so you're able to turn that up and down on touch of that touch capacitive button there. I quite enjoyed it. It's not the best system in the world, but it's definitely good for a premium car. Got little tweeters as well on top of the dash, which some of the passengers have mentioned as well. Gives it a little bit more of that premium feel and touch. Now let's get out on the road for a test drive. Alright, you join me behind the wheel of the Omoda 9. Now let's see what it's like on the road for a drive. Now you do sit up pretty high that you would expect from a car like this. I do like the 360 camera, or 540 camera as they call it in Omoda language, but when you're driving along the road you get that transparent little outlay of the vehicle, and just when you're turning and things like that, makes placing it a little bit easier than you'd expect, especially when you're maybe unfamiliar with the car. Of course, we do have the latest and greatest in safety, so we've got rear cross traffic alert, the eyeball detection for driver awareness, and the speed warning, etc. So it's just fantastic. But you can turn that off, so you do have the capability, if I touch the little button on the steering wheel,
please continue,
turn off speed warning. So that should be the speed warning off, and we can accelerate to 40. I'm in eco mode at the moment, and it is punchy and brisk. Like, that is quite impressive, just the way it kind of picks up speed and it's eager. I wasn't expecting that when I first got the car, and before I got the keys to it, or when I first got the keys to it, I was just driving it, didn't know too much about it, and it does feel powerful and eager and keen to go, which is a nice thing to experience. You wasn't expecting that in a car like this. Now the all-wheel drive system does give you that little bit of peace of mind when the roads are greasy, like today. I have a couple of times during the kind of stormy days we've had the past couple of days had a little bit of wheel spin moving off from like a roundabout or a give way. I think just because the road conditions are greasy. This has got a lot of power, so this does have about 765 newton meters of torque, which is pretty impressive amount of torque for, again, just like a regular everyday family SUV. It's not like a performance towing vehicle or anything like that. However, speaking of towing, the car can tow about 750 kilograms unbraked and about 1,500 kilograms of a braked trailer. Use this vehicle for towing, you can do. Now there is quite a few clever systems in this car, like for example the windows are starting to steam up, and automatically the car's detected that and turned on the appropriate systems to turn that on. It does have like a smart thing built into its settings for the aircon, so you're able to go inside settings. You can have customised air, automatic cabin cleaning, cabin ventilation, cabin air purification. It detects if there's poor air quality in the car, as well as automatic defogging. So I quite like the fact you're able to do that. With the touchscreen, you're also able to control the heated and cooled front seats, which are free stage, and then you can also control the rear seats if you want, if the rear passengers are struggling, or you may want to get it warm before you pick up somebody. And then under the AC tab, that's where you're able to control things like your vents. You can get the little cool infographic to see where the air is blowing, and you can control pretty much all your aircon system through there. As I said, there is this knob closest to the driver, which does control the fan speed. You can turn that all the way up and down, and then the left hand side closest to the passenger is where the temperature one is. It is worth mentioning, just while I'm out driving, the touchscreen is a little bit like it's out with my reach when I'm driving, so I need to lean forward if I'm touching anything on there, and with that eyeball detection thing on, it does beep and bong to say you're not paying attention, because you're trying to pay attention to everything in that touchscreen. There is a little bit of a learning curve to that, but I use the voice control for some basic tasks. But overall, once you get used to the system, you've got Apple CarPlay on, it's not too bad, but just bear in mind that everything is in that touchscreen when you're out on the road. Now the driving position, you do sit up nice and high. I'm sitting above like the BMW 1 Series in front of me. This is something probably close in line to something like a Jaguar F-Pace or a Skoda Kodiaq, those kind of sized vehicles in terms of ride height. So at 4.77 metres in length, it's not as long as I was expecting when I read that. It imprints being long when you see it this way it's designed and styled, and it feels quite large and spacious inside the car, but actually it's not that large when you're trying to park it or you're out on the road. but just the power delivery, just even getting out the way of junctions and things like that is pretty impressive. Now a little bit of wheel spin there, did you see that coming out of that roundabout junction just at 27 miles per hour? So it is got a lot of power and does spin a little bit. Rides well, it rides comfortable. There is a sports mode which just kind of engages the kind of throttle response and steering a little bit more, but realistically I'm going to have this in comfort eco mode. I have briefly tried it in sand and snow mode, but I am not living in a sand or snow area, so I can't comment on how well that's performed. It just seems to be keen to kick the engine in more, whereas if you have it in normal eco mode, it's just blending that hybrid powertrain. And right now it's acting as a hybrid and using that 1.5 petrol engine to get me along, and you only really hear that under acceleration or in sports mode. It's keen to have that engine on a little bit more than other modes. So when you do have it in sports mode, you are going to hear that engine a little bit more, and it isn't a sports car, so it's not a nice sounding engine. So I would just keep it realistically, just keep it in eco normal mode and enjoy the comfort and luxury that the Omoda 9 offers. Now the ride does feel adequate in this vehicle. It's kind of what you'd expect from a two-row crossover. It's very smooth and it's definitely aimed towards the luxury side of things and comfort versus sporty, engaging, dynamic. Those words are not words I would use to describe this car. Even in sports mode, it doesn't seem to be happy to be there, and the ride is a little bit firm. But I would have it comfort and eco mode, and yeah, don't expect like BMW X3 kind of level driving or Porsche Macan levels of grip. And again, you can't really fault it for not being like that, because it's not aimed to be like that, and it's priced like a Kia Sportage or a Hyundai Tucson Feb or something like that, instead of those aforementioned cars that it does rival being premium. It's around the same kind of price of a Peugeot 5008 hybrid, but this is the one spec, you don't have to add things to it. So this starts under £45,000 and you get everything that you see here. This one's finished in the Onyx black paint, which takes it over £45,000, but still under £46,000. There's two greys, one white and a black to choose from, and that's it in the colour front. And that's all you have to really do. Everything else comes as standard. Those wheels, all the gadgets, the sound system, the red glass roof, all that is as is. So that is the Omoda 9. I just want to say a special thanks to Omoda for loaning me this press car for today's video. And if you enjoyed this video, give me a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel below, and I will see you next video. Ciao.